All right, welcome to On My Block. Oh, you just went live. All right, welcome to On My Block, a Green Bay Packer podcast. I'm your host, Amon Green. Been gone off a week, but my man Mike handled the show and did it very well. So, Mike, man, how you doing from last week? What's been good with you?
Well, I didn't get to go to Ireland, so it's not that great. But AG, it's good to have you back, bud.
Yeah. So, like you said, I went to Ireland, man. Got to see my Huskers play, and it was, I say, for the trip itself, because we did a lot of touring. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we were there Monday of the game, so the 22nd through the game was on the 27th. So we're there 5 days prior, and the first couple days was interesting, or if I say first 4 days was interesting because one of my bags got lost, or not lost. They left it in Chicago instead of making the plane over to Ireland.
That's just rampant right now too. Hey,
it is. It was. I wasn't the only one. So I didn't feel too bad.
Did you? What did they throw you in? Did they have some proper clothes for you over there?
I went to a place. I kept my receipt. This place called the White House. It's like a clothing store, almost like a TJ Maxx, small department store. Went in there, grabbed a couple collared shirts, a pair of jeans, some socks, a belt, because all that was in my luggage. In the luggage they left in Chicago, and I go report it right after we land on Monday night or Monday morning in Ireland, and then like the lady goes back in the little storage, hoping maybe the bag is there. She comes back. She says, "No, your bag is still in Chicago." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "All right." And I've been here before. Actually, my first, it was 5 days. So Monday, I didn't get it till Friday afternoon, Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, is it? See, that's the thing. It's unbelievable. They know where it is, and they still can't figure it out. When I was 300 pounds, I was in Paris, France. Okay, my wife, my daughter, my mom, and my dad. We fly over to Paris, France. This is before Maddox is born. I'm 300 pounds.
Right.
It's the dead of winter, and I don't have a bag.
Oh my goodness.
My bag was in AG. My bag was in Tokyo, Japan.
Did you fly? You said
no. My bag somehow got on a plane flight to Tokyo, Japan.
Wow.
So I'm rolling around. 300 pounds is like, they don't like, first of all, French people hate Americans. No. And when you're wearing,
and they're small people.
Right. So now I got cargo pants. Remember the old cargo pants? I got like 3XL cargo pants. Okay. And I got like this jacket that you wouldn't buy normally, but it was a big boy jacket. And I'm walking around. I couldn't have looked more American. I mean, I couldn't get anybody to help me. If I walked up with my parents, nobody would talk to my parents. Nobody would talk to my family as long as I was around, because they knew immediately that I was a dirty American. I loved it.
Dirty. Yeah, you do get that look. They know right away you're American.
AG, did you listen? I know you're not a drinker. But did you go to the Guinness distillery or the Jameson distillery? Did you do the yes, my man?
I did Genesis or Guinness. Excuse me. Guinness. I did Guinness. Yes, I did. Had like the most. I probably had the most amount of Guinness beer in my life.
It's good though.
For the first 3 days, that's all I had. Do
you like it?
Lunch or dinner.
Can you?
Yeah, I like it. No, I like it for real.
So
I've had it here before, and yes.
Did you taste the difference? There used to be a difference in the way that. Yeah, right. Because what is it? Because like the way they bottle it over there, the nitrous or something like that it's not as foamy here. It's more foamy there or something.
Yeah, it's more foamy there. And then obviously what I know and what you know is the travel. They got to ship it overseas and all that, sitting in the boxes or whatever, how it gets to America, or even if they do that, if they just make it here differently, obviously we know that is probably a different process, because if you don't get it from the motherland, like that's the motherland of Guinness and Jameson whiskey, then it's not going to taste like how it should be. So real quick, before we get going with the rest of the show, we're going to go to Bet Online. It's the fastest and easiest way to wager all your favorite sports contests and events with your first market odds and lines. So find reviews and news on every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports too, Mike, and golf, which I did a lot in Ireland. I golfed so much that I was like having nightmares. I was like, my body, I didn't know my body could hurt like that walking the whole 18 on the two golf courses I went around. Beautiful golf courses. One was Arglass and and the second one was it was a pro one. It was a pro PGA stop.
Is it the ones like you see over there at the Scottish Open where it's like it's got those huge bunkers and then there's just like crap all around it, so you have to be accurate?
100%.
What they call them, links, right?
The links, right? And oh my God, you have to be super accurate. So I'm not a pro. I had bought 4 boxes of golf balls just to have enough to finish what I was doing. So finished 3 here. BetOnline continues to be the top online source for your sports information and live in-game betting odds, props, and futures. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device today. Join today and make your first sports bet. Use the promo BLEAV 5050 now to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, Mike, where the game starts.
Yes, sir.
So now we got into preseason 3, wrapping up the preseason. And this is game, and regardless of the number for, now it's 3, it doesn't matter, like 4. That 4th preseason game for us, it was that game where the young guys basically had to land on the line, because we know what's next for younger players or players on the bubble. They could be a veteran that's 2-year that hasn't had a lot of experience, game time on active rosters, but now they got to show up in this game 3 now for current players, but game 4 for us back during our time. And so what's your takeaways here for this game against the Chiefs?
Well, so first of all, who cares, right? What is it? 17-10. We lost 17-10. And so we started something last week. We started something last week, AG, because it was Mike Flanagan and I. We did an O-line takeover, right?
Yeah. So how's Mike doing, by the way? How's he doing?
Oh man, he's doing great. We got to get him on the show. He's amazing.
Yeah.
But
I know.
Listen, we wanted to just hit. Let's hit the receivers and the quarterbacks early, and then let's just get into the stuff we love talking about. So, real quick, the takeaways for me are this: as far as Jordan Love goes, the week before he had he had 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, and so people are looking for certain things at him. The kid's certainly got talent. He's in the right room as far as learning and developing, and he's certainly in a quarterback friendly system, especially now. As far as the meld between the Sean McVay system or the Kyle Shanahan system, whatever it is, we call it, and then Aaron Rodgers' take on things, right, with a little bit of Mike McCarthy's old system. So his numbers are pedestrian. Right. I think he was 16-26, had 148 yards, had a pick on kind of the end of the half play. Not a great read by him, but you're also trying to make something happen, so it's a throwaway. Thing that pops up is you see the talent. He makes great throws, but he has head scratchers. And all preseason, what we keep seeing from him is the timing isn't always there on kind of the gimme stuff. Like, it's not like a long handoff. Keyshawn Johnson sometimes talks about with Aaron Rodgers, like Aaron Rodgers, where you're throwing it 10 yards or 40 yards, it feels like a long handoff, right? The ball's just where it needs to be. Right. And it's not always that way with Jordan Love. Yet the accuracy is not what we would just consider elite. So as you break down the film and you start looking at it, there's a couple things he really needs to work on. Pocket presence. Okay. Just understanding where the rush is, understanding when you got to go, when you don't have to go. Pre-snap reads, as far as like sometimes the defense is going to give you the 5-yarder on first down, you got to take it, or the 3-yarder, you got to take it. You don't want to throw it away. You don't want to hold the ball. You don't want to give up. You don't want to get pressure. You don't want to give up a sack. And then the next thing is his footwork is not where it needs to be an elite player.
It can improve.
Right. And what I mean by that is when he comes off his play action, when he comes off his drop, sometimes he opens his footwork up, like he'll be throwing to the right, but his left foot's pointed straight or headed to the left. And you'll see his throws are a little bit shorter to the inside. And there's a reason for it. It's just everything starts with your footwork when you're a quarterback. We don't preach it enough in the National Football League, but it's incredibly important. So for me, it's just like he's good. He could be great. I think he's going to be great for another team, quite frankly. Like, I don't think he's going to want to stick around another year. I mean, I wouldn't if I was him.
Right. Yeah.
But you can work on these things and, man, just keep getting reps. You got to make the most. Like your practice film should be just impeccable. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree on that last statement there, because that's the only time he's going to be able to perform, once the, regular season is here now. You head it up real quick. I'll hold on real quick. But yeah, he needs to need reps and more reps. So, because that's the only time he's going to have to, prove himself out there, because regular season games, those are all done. He's not going to be in a lot of those regular season games. To his footwork, that's something I watch on the daily when I watch any, especially college football to pro football. I watch the quarterback and their footwork because me, I wasn't a running back, but I played baseball, and I knew that having a good base on yourself, throwing that ball from the outfield to the infield, if it's on a strike or if you just try to hit the second baseman to get somebody out or just to get the ball into the infield, you got to have your feet set in different ways. And if you don't have that feet set the proper way to throw certain passes, if it's a lob pass to a bullet pass to a touch pass, things like that, then it's going to show up. And defenders going to know that, because from a defensive lineman standpoint, they'll know, okay, if we push him around, we make him see ghosts, don't let him set his feet, then he's not going to kill us. Because we know better than anybody, a guy that is still playing, in his 20-plus year, Tom Brady, we all know if you rattle him, you move him out that pocket, he gets frustrated because he knows better than anybody from the ground up, the feet, or if they're in the right place, the ball, he gets real comfortable and he's going to just basically pick you apart. So that's something that, young quarterbacks got to know. I say that's got to be their first point of emphasis, not worrying about how strong their arm is, if they got a big arm or whatever. Then start from the bottom up. Work on that footwork. And obviously, like, I don't know if you heard me before when you jumped off there, just the reps for him, like you mentioned, I agree. The practice reps is going to be his reps, because regular season reps are not going to come a whole lot unless they get a blowout and he finishes up the game. Or if they're losing a game at a point eventually where the coaches say, you know what, let's take all the starters out. Let's put Jordan and the other, offensive line, running backs, wide receivers, second crew in, because this game is out of reach at this point in the game. So until those situations pop up, that's when he's going to get his time out there to burn.
Yeah, one thing that you brought up, Tom Brady's, when I work with athletes, he's like one of the first people I talk about, because Tom Brady's got the best footwork in the game. He doesn't have the best feet in the game. He has the best footwork in the game, right? And that's shoot, correct, man. He was just ranked number one again. Difference. Yeah, he was just ranked number one in the NFL players list. Like, after 20 some years of playing ball, he's still ranked number one. Even if we think Rodgers is one and Donald's two and he's three, still. And it's because of his fundamentals, and that's something that young players like Jordan Love. I don't know if they come into the league with an emphasis on that coming from college like they used to, but certainly you can see again the talents there. Hey, if we talk about wide receivers, something happened today that was a little bit surprising. I didn't think Juwan Winfrey was going to get cut, so he got waived today.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think he's
been playing well I thought he was a little on the bubble.
He was on the bubble.
I thought he was a little on bubble. I didn't think. Yeah, he's back and forth.
Well, this is one of those deals. So obviously Dobbs has played his way onto the team. He's going to get you expect him to get minutes. And Christian Watson has not played a lot, but you see the talent, and obviously he's coming off an injury, but you see the talent. He's a second round pick, probably a first round grade. So you're going to get that experience, that time and experience. What's really been interesting this offseason or this preseason is the way that everybody's emphasizing all the rookies because of Aaron Rodgers making that statement, a guy's got to pick it up in the wide receiver room, blah, blah, blah. But really, we haven't seen Allen Lazard. We haven't seen Randall Cobb. And we haven't seen Sammy Watkins. All we've seen him from practice, and we understand that Sammy's looking better. He's not injured. Lazard's looking like a number one. So we have all this. But when we actually get to game day next week, all of this stuff is going to come together. And it's be interesting to see how, like, Dobbs and Watson can get themselves into the game. And probably Amari Rodgers. Like, Amari Rodgers is probably going to make the team, right? Because it's a special team. So are they going to work him into the game plan? But it'll be interesting to see how that works with those top three guys.
Yeah, definitely. Like, for me, I saw Winfrey just a bubble guy. I didn't think, that he was going to get cut. But I'm just saying, if anybody's going to be on that, as we call it, the cut list, the plank, whatever, he's going to be one of those guys, because he had his place, very few and far between, but wasn't just popping on the map, on the game field, on the tape, as we talk about. As some coaches say, make that film pop. Just like, oh man, that's a good play. Like, he made some plays. He did not make plays. So he made plays, but wasn't, to me, what I saw enough to really get the coach's attention, like what Dobbs did. But we saw right away what Dobbs was doing in practice. It was relating over to the game. In the KC game, I know the one play, the screenplay that they had as wide receiver screen, he kind of hesitated a little bit too long. I know I run screenplays, so I know you kind of let pause for a second, let the O-line get in front of you, but then boom, you got to hit it. Yeah, and he kind of hesitated a little too long and got hit in the backfield, which that shouldn't have been a screenplay, especially to a wide receiver. Should not be behind the line of scrimmage. It should at least get a yard, maybe 2 yards, but not behind the line of scrimmage. That's what I saw there. And then Watson, being a second round pick, that's the only reason he's still right now, because he's got a hamstring. Right, he got a free pass. This is rookie's free pass. If you're a first round, second round now, back in the day, maybe a third round, second round, first round, back during our time. But now, definitely first round, second round, you get that free pass because obviously he had the hammy. We came back. He didn't play a whole lot either because obviously it's a soft tissue injury. You don't want to push that too hard. You want to make sure you get him ready for the regular season. So now all the guys in the room, I say Randall Cobb, being his age, they kind of know what he can do and what he can't do, and it wouldn't take no snaps to not to know, or really you don't want to get him to hurt out there. Alan Lazard, I think he's proven they knew what he could do, but to test out the young guys in some of the other positions that, like you saw, I think it was Dobbs or another receiver early preseason we mentioned that was trying to take the role of Alan Lazard and picking up blocks and stuff, trying to handle defensive backs, linebackers. Winfrey, right? So they were trying him, and maybe that was it. I don't know, but the one thing, if anything, he showed effort. And I want to make a comment today. I was watching Good Morning Football this morning on NFL Network, and I saw they had the old Patriots GM and then Kansas City GM. I think it was Scott Pioli.
Yep.
Yeah, and he made a beautiful comment about cut day. And what he said, because he worked all levels of administrators, from GM, player development, all that stuff, scout, running around, watching players on NFL scout side or the college scout side. And his comment basically was like, we know what this day is. It's a tough day for players, but it's not necessarily mean their career is over. Like with this team, yes, with the team that I'm working for, if it was with the Patriots or with the Chiefs, as he said, with that team, yes, it's over. But you're still, a viable option in terms of we might put you on a reserve list to, hold you in waivers. So we make sure we want you. We just want to take you off for a day or two. But within 24 to 48 hours, you're still going to be on a team. If it's not us, it's going to be somebody else, because somebody else can't claim you. And so he just kind of expunged on the point of cut day is not the worst day in a player's career. Can it be? Yes. But it is other situations that players get put in. Obviously, PUP, veteran. And now what they said about practice squad players, or practice squad having 16 players, 10 of them rookies, 6 of them veterans, those 2 to 3 year veterans that haven't got that time, like I mentioned earlier. So I thought that was an interesting take on things, because obviously when we talk about this part of the training camp, we know it's like it's what they what was the Reaper's coming, coming to you. And so so he had some good comments there, and his last comment was talking about when he was with the Cleveland Browns back in 1995, and he had to let Carl Banks know, and Carl Banks was a player that he idolized and he enjoyed watching him play. So he said I was more terrified to tell Carl Banks that we gotta cut you, we gotta move on, this, that, and the other. And he said the biggest thing that Carl took from that is that he said, Scott, you were honest with me. You told me straight up we were cutting you. This is not working out, and whatever he added on there. He said, if anything, to the GMs, to the scout coordinators, whoever has to do that, sit down in front of the player to let that person know what's going on. Just be honest with them, and then go from there. And because he said he still had conversations when he would see Carl. It's like that was one of the conversations he remembered towards the end of his career.
What do you think they mean? Like when they make those statements, though, I always get I always roll my eyes a little bit, because what do you mean be honest with? Like, the player said you were being honest with me. Well, yeah, you're cut. Right. It was pretty easy. You know what I mean? I always feel like the GM's trying to make himself look like a stand-up guy, where it's like, dude, that it literally is your job. And the fact is,
right, I have it. True.
Well, the fact is for this time of the year, look, the reason that the average NFL career is 3.5 years is not because of guys like you and me. It's because of guys like the guys that don't make it past year one. Right. So there are a lot of people that are their dreams are going to end, if not today, in the next week. And it's a sad reality of the sport. Right. It's a competitive business, and this is part of it. I do have a question for you though, AG.
Yeah.
If you looking at our roster and you had, you rubbed the genie's lamp and you got one wish, you had something on your wish list for week 1, what would you add to or change about our roster right now?
Add to or change.
In other words, if you need to, if you think man, this position's just not working out for us, I need depth here, I need a starter there. What is that position? Do you think?
Oh man, that's a good question. I would have to say, well, first it pops off the as soon as you said, as soon as I said you said that, I thought about David Bakhtiari. Just
Yeah.
get him in there. That's one thing I would be like, Jeannie, can David be healthy 100% to play ball and get him, he'll be him, the guy we know. That's my Jeannie wish right there, because we know when he's in there, that part of the line of scrimmage from the run and the pass, coach players don't have to think about it. They know that side of the offensive line is going to get their job done, because obviously he communicates well with his teammate to his right side. So from that point on, I'll say that'll be my Genie wish out of the box going into week 1.
That's a very good one. And I think the only reason I might have a different take is just because I think Josh Nijman has done a really good job. And he's not David Bakhtiari, but nobody, there's only a couple of him in the league.
Right.
But the more
player is different. Right.
The more I watch this team, the only glaring weakness that I see on this team right now, and I can't really speak for the secondary, the backup players in the secondary, but we do not have competent backup outside linebackers on this team right now. We do not. Yeah. We just don't. And I think
I agree.
I think Egnamari might be he should move up to second team and get a chance to get some reps in, because he's just got a little wiggle to him. He's fast. We can teach him how to play with better leverage, but there's just not guys the drop off between Preston and Rashawn and the backups is pretty big, man. And I can't really say that about other positions.
Right, because with that just shows you the level of play that those guys have.
True.
They set the bar so high, it's gonna be hard for those players to be them. Be that level. When I say to those young players in that instinct, like Kingsley Eggerby, Jonathan Garvin, hey, be you. Practice that technique. Make sure you hit your assignment, whatever that whatever that responsibility is, go there and do it. And be a solid tackler. I think we saw some plays in this last game too, a solid play in the tackling. It could have went 50-50 either ways, but most of the time, guys were getting guys to the ground. And that's one job as a defender you got to have. But I kind of agree with you. It's guys that are new name players. We don't really know them, obviously, by name. But that's where this is their opportunity when they do get in there and make a name for themselves.
Let's get to trench warfare, man. Talk about the offense. Let's talk about the people that we care about the most, man. These box 7 players.
Yes.
We got
our indeed.
This first unit was out there with Jordan Love, and I think Taylor started the game. A couple of plays against the first unit.
Running back.
Yeah, the defensive. A couple of plays against their first defensive line. I thought our offensive line in the run game got pushed around, quite frankly. Some backside things. You even see the first play of the game. They got pissed around on the backside. I think Hanson's earned that opportunity to be the starting right guard. He's still got some work to do on 2-eye blocks. Which is the toughest block for him on the backside of the run. Royce played last year and did some good things, but you can kind of see where he's got a lot of areas of opportunity. I think strength being one of them. I think awareness. He missed a run through on a double team on an outside toss. That is hopefully one of those things you happens one time and then you're back in it. I just think there's a lot of room for improvement in the run game as far as moving bodies off the ball. Our tight ends got beat up in the run game. DeGuara played fullback yesterday and just got his hole checked. Davis.
I want to make a comment on that when it's my turn.
Davis. I said he was the nail, not the hammer, right? But all these guys. It's hard to. You're watching these games and you're passionate about the game, and so it's hard to remember we have Mercedes Lewis, it's okay, right? Because you still need to find that other guy, because Tunyon can't block, or at least he hasn't proven he can block yet. So you still need we want kind of DeGuara to be that guy, but man, it's time. You got to come be that guy.
Yeah, and like you said, DeGuara was more the nail, not the hammer, and that is a whole being fullback. That's a whole different mindset. You are very, lacked in the opportunity to get the ball. Your job is to literally run into people. To have that mindset and to want to do that, like I said, it's special players. I played with them. Will Henderson was one, but then back in Nebraska, Jeff McAvica, Brian Schuster, those guys would epitomize the fullback. Every now and then we give them a nugget. You give them a short yardage play or a screen play or even a pass off the backfield. But when you're going in that A gap, B gap, C gap, even outside zone plays, you got to have between the mindset is the thing we're talking about, technique and footwork. Same thing, like we were talking about Jordan Love. It's all, a pad level thing. Lowest guy wins. Once you make contact, drive your legs. Because if you make contact, you're just trying to make that big initial hit. Boom. And you don't sometimes, most of the time, you're not going to move no guys because the guy is the same weight as you, 250, 245, 255, somewhere in that range. So you got to hit and then run your feet to move and then move that guy out of the hole because you don't want to have a stalemate every time, because stalemates for most running backs, if they're not using their eyes, then that running back is running right up the fullback's butt. In all that instance. And that's the same thing with the offensive lineman. I know on the one play in particular, it was probably the best play they had between Goodson, Tyler Goodson hitting the hole just right. But then every lineman, I took that play. It was a highlight film, off of YouTube, but I watched it right before we came on live here. And I looked at every the touchdown. It was like a 35-yard run.
Bro,
I watched every position.
But AG, have you ever got to run against, that was damn near an empty box. That was four defensive linemen. And no play side running back or linebacker, and the backside linebacker stacked outside the running back. It literally couldn't have been easier.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I
watched that film. I watched that film and I was like, if AG ever got that, he might call timeout. He's like, you guys don't have enough people on the field. What's going on? Like, that's what's crazy about defenses. That's what's crazy about defenses now. They're so worried about the pass that, like, that was damn near a 4-man box. I mean, it was a 5-man box, but just barely.
Right. I'm watching Josh Myers. He's in the end zone. Even though he got to his block, like you said, light box, I like the fact that he's 15 yards downfield cleaning up guys. But like you said, that should not happen in the NFL. That's stuff I remember at Nebraska, where I'm running downfield and my tackles and guards are down to 50 yards with me, talking about get to the end zone, dude. It's like, so it was just impressive. I'm giving the guys a little nugget there because obviously they don't get a whole lot. They get criticized and they get broken down a lot. But with that play there, and then Tyler Goodson, Patrick Taylor too. Tyler had a hell of a game. He ran the ball hard. He ran as that young player that we mentioned in the beginning, talking about training camp, last cut days coming up. He ran as he knew, this might be it for me. Let me give it all I got. Let me play hard. But he's played hard consistently all preseason. This wasn't just this game. He had all his previous games. The Saints game, the first game of the preseason as well, was basically really good football for him, holding the ball, protecting the ball, yards after contact, picking up the blitz, things of that nature. So for me, I like him what I'm seeing with him. And then Patrick Taylor just seemed like he was more thinking a little bit too much out there, just going out there and playing ball.
Well, with that said, they cut Goodson this morning and made Taylor the third running back. So
interesting.
So, yeah,
that's what I said. That's why I said. That's why Goodson was playing like a man, like his hair on fire, and it makes sense now. If he cut him, that makes sense.
Both you and I are. Well, I'm sure it's because of special teams. Like here's how this day goes for fans out there listening. The person who has the most pull in the building today is the special teams coordinator. Everybody, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, running back room, everybody is going, DB room. Yeah, all those coaches are going to the special team coordinators room with candy baskets and ice cream and saying, hey, I really like Patrick Taylor. I really like Tyler, blah, 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 trying to sneak like, hey, can he get the job done on special teams? Because the last 25 people on that roster are going to make the team because of special teams, right? And so, when you look at Patrick Taylor, I think the kid from Iowa could flat out play. I think he's a football player that he could help this team. I don't know how you'd use him with our two running backs because he's kind of like like a smaller Aaron Jones, really, right? So it's kind of he is kind of going like, all right, what do I do with him?
He's just a little bit more thicker. He's just a little bit more thicker than Aaron, but yes.
Oh, is he bigger than Aaron?
Same size, same height.
Okay,
just a little thicker, just a little bit. But he looked like about 5 pounds of weight more on him.
Aaron runs so hard sometimes. I think he's bigger than he is. But my point being, Patrick Taylor has the edge on special teams, and that's probably why the rookie gets cut, and hopefully they'll bring him back on practice squad. Maybe he's a project, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got picked up either.
Right, exactly. You just said, this is how the ball goes, unfortunately. But like I said, he had that good film, like we mentioned, and now that somebody out there is going to see that film, the way he played, the way he hit the hole, the way he got upfield, stuff like that, pick up the blitz, and he most likely is going to have a job here in the next week before week 1 of the NFL kicks off, basically. And then we have DeGuara and Davis. So what's your take on those tight ends there in the position where they potentially can be?
Do we keep? Well, here's my real question, because we see the Niners, we see the Ravens, the Chiefs had one. DeGuara is probably on the team. He's a better player. He's shown more than Davis. Davis has a real hard time in the run game, and we just don't have another guy that can block. I think DeGuara is at least, we saw last year, he's a willing blocker. I don't know if he's a great participant right now, especially at the fullback position. I don't understand, because the way they run this offense, the way the Shanahan offense is run, does it make sense to keep a fourth tight end or just hire a fullback? Like, why aren't we just hiring a fullback? Why don't we just call a guy? There's so many fullbacks out there that are happy to do the dirty work.
Right.
Let's just put one on the team. They'll run specials. They don't ask for the ball. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, it's such a no-brainer.
They don't expect the ball.
Yeah, because you look at it, do we keep a fourth tight end like Davis? And I'm not bad-mouthing the kid, but if it's me personally, you go, okay, what is the value here? The value on, who's going to do a better job on special teams? Probably the fullback, just from a violence standpoint, right? Okay, who's going to do a better job in the run game? Definitely the fullback. Is Davis going to be involved 100%. As the fourth tight end in the passing game? I mean, is that how you think about it? Because if I would think about it the other way and go, well, shoot, man, I'll go hire a fullback, put him on special teams, be really happy with it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like the fullback can all do what the tight end does because of catch and block off the ball, in terms of, that position. But then when you have to line them in an I formation or have them offset and then come downhill into the A gap or B gap or even outside, pitch play or anything like that, he can cover that. And he's most likely one of those players that could do a little bit of everything. He's, with like Cusa out in 49ers, who once was a Raven, he gets, I think he went free agent to 49ers, but he does all that. And then once you get him, every now and then you give him a nugget, you give him the ball, and he's going to do something with it. And so just finding those players, having a guy like that is a bonus, because then okay, I have a guy I could go into the muck of things, into the A and B gap and move people. And then also I could sneak him out the backfield for a pass here and there and throw the defense off, in the plays that Matt LaFleur liked to call.
AG, if like the ratio of blocking to giving the fullback a ball is like, it could be 200 to 1. You just get every 3 games. If you give him the ball every 3 games, he'll just go, oh, I'm a superstar. I feel 10 feet tall again. Hey, before we get out of the offensive side, the one thing I want to bring up, 2 things. One, I really like the way Josh Nijman plays. Like I know when Bakhtiari comes back, he's not going to start for this team because there's nowhere to put him. Really, I mean, I guess he could play. The numbers start not making a lot of sense to me. That kid can play. He's only going to get better. I don't know if he's not trade bait next year in 2023. If Bakhtiari is healthy and they don't see him as like the imminent replacement. If Bakhtiari's got another 3, 4, 5 years left in him, I don't know what they do with him because he's a good player. He could play. He can start in this league, I think, in another year or 2. And then the other thing is Zach Tom. We talked about him on the show a couple times now. Like, I just really think the ceiling is high for that kid. I'd love to get and work on his stance. I'd love to work on maybe his pad level a little bit, but you could just see the athleticism, the way that he can finish in the run game. He looks like he's picking things up really quick. He passes games off well, but he just moves at a different level than some of the other guys. And it's going to kind of blossom, I think, over the next couple of years. It'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, he just definitely looks like a young talent that is now, I get it now. And he's just going out there being comfortable and playing with him in himself there. So you want to get down here to this defense side in this Chiefs games here? Yeah, the defense, like they played against the box players played against the first offensive line for the Chiefs. They've got a good offensive line. You see that we get rolled up a little bit. Again, we talked about the outside linebackers, and I know why they got a holding call, but let's really he was manhandling our guy. Wyatt's got a ton of talent.
and you can see it, and you see it the first down or the first third down play. Like he can rush the passer. Right now, he's a third down 3 technique because he plays too high. He doesn't have technique to hold up in the run game. He's not really good when you put him at a 2-eye or a 2 because he runs into the center. He has moves on the outside, and he's going to show, like, you just see the talent. Like, he's going to show flashes. But, the question is, how long or what does he have to show you, knowing what we have that we haven't shown yet as far as our first team goes? Like, what does he have to show you to earn a spot on, like, the third down package? Because you think about Dean Lowry last year. Dean Lowry's not a great pass rusher, but Dean Lowry pushed the pocket last year, and that helps Gary, and that helps Kenny Clark, and that helps Preston Smith. So what does this kid have to show to beat? Because right now, all I would say was, hey, put him in on third down every once in a while, see what he can do. What does he have to show to earn that in that room?
I would say right now, just what you just said about Dean Lowry. Have that high effort and then push the pocket. Push that, get penetration upfield to then, disrupt the guys that are blocking, Kenny Clark. Who else is on there? Jaron Reed, who's going to be on the defensive line, who, pushing those guys around, Preston Smith helping his position out. So if he gets up in that middle field, cause problems, be a disruptor, middle D lineman. I remember guys that created problems by getting upfield on us that I was like, oh man, that's not good. Either pass picks. Pro or even run it. Exactly. Pressure equals picks. So I say, just do that. Have that motor and just have that, biggest open-minded, say, hey, be coachable to get more plays out there.
Mike Flanagan last week, I said, who's the hardest guy you ever play against? And it was like, so Mike and I are kind of built the same, right? So it's going to be like a big, tall. And he goes, Chris Jenkins, and I go, well, he's my favorite. He's my guy. Oof. But number 2 was Albert. Do you remember 2 years Albert Hainsworth just decided he was going to be the best player in the league? Yeah, there was like 2 years of contract years.
Bull in the China shop.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. But going back to our team, we just have talent everywhere. We talked about it. Tipa didn't play. 40 didn't play this week. I don't know if he's guaranteed a spot on the team.
That was linebacker, right?
Yeah, he's the outside linebacker he's played first and second.
Young guy.
We were kind of always talking like, he needs to develop. 53 was in. Kobe Jones was in. Ladarius Hamilton was in this week. None of these guys are really good at rushing the passer. And again, that's kind of where I keep going back to as far as how are we going to manufacture pressure when our starters aren't in, that's always going to be, I think that's going to be the question mark. And that's always going to be kind of what's hanging over this draft class, because we had the chance to pick the Florida State kid when we picked up Quay Walker. And Quay made some tackles in this game that he's supposed to make. You know what I mean? Like he made some tackles in the flat when the ball's not great. It wasn't a great throw or anything, but he makes a couple tackles that he's supposed to make. He's got a long ways to go as far as like button up guards and being able to take on blocks. But you can see he's developing. You see the talent; it's going to be there. Is he going to be a difference maker in year one? I don't know. But that pass rush is always so important. Chris Hovan said it in a huddle one time on NFL Films. Man, pressure equals picks, and it's from an offensive line standpoint, at least, like that is our ultimate fear.
Yeah, you don't want that quarterback in the NFL level quarterback that's top 10 comfortable in that pocket. You want him very uncomfortable where he's frustrated. If you get him to the level where he's yelling at his O-line and receivers to catch the ball, you got him, because then now you're getting him off his comfort zone where he's not comfortable, where he's dropping three step, 4 step, 5 step, and a skip, a hitch, and getting that ball out. Then you're doing your job as a defense to make sure he does not get comfortable, like I said. So we're headed down. Who we got here?
AG, when we talk about Quay Walker, going back to him because he is the first pick in the for us in this draft. As we watch this, we've seen Isaiah. First of all, we know Devondre Cameron's an All-Pro. Isaiah McDuffie has played very well. Now, Ronald Jones checked him in the hole, and Ronald Jones checked him and Quay Walker in the hole, dragged him, right? But Isaiah McDuffie's played really well. We love Chris Barnes plays well. Both of them, if again, I'm the guy who has to block these guys. Both of them have outplayed Quay Walker. Now, I know that there might be some past things that he can do. Both of them are better today than Quay Walker is. does athleticism alone justify reps that from over those two veteran players that are outplaying him? And again, I'm not bad mouthing Quay Walker. I'm just telling you the other two are better right now as of today.
Yeah, athletic ability, no, because you got to need that technical side of it. How you use your hands, how you understand offenses. If you could read a formation, be like kind of have an idea, an intuition where the ball may be going defensively. What's coming at you. Or is this a run? This is situational. Oh man, it's 3rd and 5. So what can they do? You go down the list of plays. It could be a run. It could be a play act. So you got to have you got to have that ability all day. You could be up the field fast, get a sack real easy, but then now situational football has to kick in. Then the ability's out the door, and that's where talent from college level, when they get to the NFL level, they find out, oh man, I was beating them the whole game, and then finally this situation popped up. It was a special situation. It was 3rd and long or 3rd and medium. And I thought I was going to get the sack, but that tackle did this to me, or the tight end, buzzed out and did something different that I never saw before because it just wasn't in his mindset for experience. So I say that experience side will then trump being very athletic at your position.
Yeah, I agree. And that kind of goes to the bigger kind of maybe question mark of the team right now is how do these, the first round picks, and then a guy like Eric Murray, who's kind of showing flashes of, hey, he could turn out to be a really good player. He certainly has the athleticism. What are the expectations? Like if you're a starter on this team, or you're a huge contributor on this team, like what kind of expectations can you have for these young players? Are we just hoping that they continue to show kind of flashes of brilliance as they kind of come along, what is usually a rocky road? Like, I don't think any one of these guys is walking in like Aaron Donald year one.
No. What you want to see from a young player like that, you just want to make sure that if their ability, why we noticed them in college and why they're on this team comes out. And then as either a veteran or a coach to say, okay, that ability is there. What you did at so-and-so university, boom, great. You're doing that. Now let's mold. Now this is the NFL level. Now you got to learn this, and this about your position for you to be on this higher level, because just your ability is not going to get you there. So you got, then as a young player, okay, coach, got to tune in now. I can't go, oh man, I got this, man. I'm better. Hey, that physicalness is going to be eventually on the decline eventually. Once you hit 30, it's going to go downhill. So you want to make sure you had that mental side of the game as well. And be coachable. Number one, be coachable all day. So
I think
we talk about. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the last thing is, you talk about our defense just in general, and we really just haven't seen a lot of starters. But we talk about the talent, and we have talent at every level. I'm talking about the first team guys. We have talent at every level. Our secondaries is as good with Alexander back as maybe they've ever been. Seeing the emergence of Rasul Douglas and what he brings. We have Stokes on the other side now. We have safeties that are proven. We talk about Savage all the time, but there are proven safeties. We have all pros at every level now, or guys that are potential all pros at every single level. So last year we talked about this defense a lot, and the coverages they were playing was kind of a bend but don't break scenario. With the guys that are coming back, with the emergence of guys like Rashawn Gary, like where can we realistically look at our defense and say, like, we can either make, like, this is where we expect you to be at the end of the year, or AG, like, where can we make a jump as far as, are we going to create more turnovers? Are we going to get more 3 and outs? Like, what do you see them improving on from last year, given the fact that we've got some of these players coming back and some others developing?
Yeah, I mean, but I say the biggest thing, obviously with the defensive front, with Clark in there causing problems, along with Preston and Gary. I say that back end, having Zaire healthy, along with the other safeties that are back there in DBs, and then not being that bend but don't break defense, because that's a thing for a team that's on the rise. If you're going to be that defense at the top, you don't bend, you don't break. There's no bend or break.
It's an attack mode. We're in attack mode.
Exactly. It's 3 and out. Every time the team gets the ball, the biggest drive is a 6-play drive, and then boom, they're punting. It's not getting to the red zone, because bend don't break is letting them get to the end zone, either holding them a 3 or you get a turnover then. But a top end defense will shut you down before you even get past the 50, even if you get past the 50. That's the top end defenses. So having that back end, take away those mistakes from games last year, where sometimes they would think, I think with Savage would lose coverage responsibility on either a player or his zone, if it was zone to man, and then just being aware and just talk, because defense, that's where you gotta talk out loud and be aware. Because I remember coaching my linebackers a few years ago, even though it's a high school level. But yeah, I'll tell them, when we're sitting in a zone 3, zone 4, cover 4, cover 3, we got to talk, because we got to say in. That means guys in out of zone. You got to make that verbal, because we're looking at the quarterback, because it's a zone coverage. We're not looking at receiver. We are aware of the receiver because they're passing through each another player's zone. But you got to chatter, hey, guys coming your way, let that know. And I say that right there, just be communicative and be, like I said, again, be coachable to one another in that defensive back, or in that defense as a whole.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, given the talent that they have, given the experience that they have, and I think given the confidence that they have, it'll be really interesting, at least from my perspective, to see what Joe Barry decides, what the makeup of that team is, what the makeup of that defense is, how they want to approach each and every situation, right? Like, are we going to turn in?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to try to be like the 2010 Baltimore Ravens? Are we going to try to be that kind of team? Like, do we have that kind of capability? Because they have so much talent. It's the most talent I've ever seen on a defense in Green Bay, at least as long as I've been watching. And
100%. I agree with you.
If the mentality is we are going to just shut people down and it's going to be a punt or a turnover, every time out, then they could be something really special. But in the league now, we see, hey, we're going to make you go the distance. We're going to be bend but don't break. We're going to give up yards, but we're not going to give up big plays. And I'll just be interested to see if we're willing to take a little more hard line to it because of the talent we have. But time will tell, right?
Yeah, time will tell. You gotta, as a coach, make that hard line decision there. So let's get off my lawn here, and we got some interesting factoids and headlines. And I saw this first one. Aaron Rodgers talks to Joe Rogan, which I don't think is never good to talk to Joe Rogan, but it's probably fun. It's probably a fun conversation.
Yeah, his shows. He's got some interesting guests, and he's got listen, the guy's controversial, but he's certainly got some things to say. Aaron Rodgers goes on and talks about the vaccination saga from last year, and they had a multi-hour conversation. They talked about a bunch of stuff, but this was certainly one of them, and how he was, he had pre-planned, of course, his discussion with the media, and he was going to say he was immunized and not say the word vaccinated, and then be able to go into it and have these discussions. And Aaron's a very smart guy. He has an answer for everything.
Oh yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see. He kind of went all in on how people were treating him, how the media treated him, how people he thought that were on his side, how everybody made him a bad guy. The term scorched earth is something that might be used with the way that he discussed some of the relationships and everything with members of the media and members of the NFL, and the way that NFL organizations were treating potential free agents and people that they were thinking about cutting or not cutting, and the way that they were treating things in the building, as far as, if you're not vaccinated, then here's how we're segregating the groups. And it just was very kind of awkward. Yeah. It was at the very least, it was an interesting discussion, but I don't know if I care at all. But it was an interesting discussion to hear what was actually going on, because you think about it, trying to put yourself in that situation, it would be very hard to operate normally at the highest level when you're separated in the weight room, you're separated in the hallway, you're wearing a mask and other people. I mean, all these things. And yeah, it is everybody's choice. But like, to his point, I think he was, I think his complaint was, hey, listen, I'm allergic to the vaccination. I can't take it. So here's my results. But anyways, I don't know if you saw any, but I thought it was interesting.
No, I heard bits and pieces of it, but yeah, definitely, like the last statement you just said, being allergic. I think my wife was, she couldn't, with some of the stuff that was in there, she couldn't do. I think a lot of people probably had that case, but I say being here in town, even, before that conversation and other conversation from last year, because it wasn't just the immunized to his free agents, whole contract thing last year too. It was a couple of things going on. So being in town, I caught word really of, stuff he was unhappy about, from the organization, from the media. And as a player, I can relate and have those same type of feelings, because obviously, the media, as we know, they try to control everything we do as players, as professional athletes. They try to make sure, they try to take our narrative instead of us tell our story. And that's what I like about Aaron. He you know, even though it was something probably I wouldn't do, but he has, as we know, being a quarterback, you just have that extra layer of protection a little bit. But he was able to state his mind, his likes and dislikes. And you say, like you said, very smart. So he knows how to present it and then, you know, deliver it to everyone. And I got it. You know, I was like, yeah, he's not happy, you know, in terms of the team. But then stuff like this too. I'm like, for me, with this side of it, I'm with you. This is his business. How he handled his business, that's on him. But with all everything else from the contract and him not wanting to be here and whatever, I'm like, that's, for one, that's his stuff. But I get it because I was a former player with the Packer organization, and sometimes communication wasn't fluent, and so you didn't know how they were thinking about you as a player, or what, you know, in terms of negotiating, getting back on the roster, things of that nature. So definitely can relate on that an aspect. And it was very, like I said, happy to hear him really voice his opinion and get all his what was on his brain, what was on his mind, get it all out.
Yeah, I think the only thing that was interesting, the other part that was interesting for me too was that despite you know, media reports to the contrary, everybody in the building knew exactly what his status was. You know, that everyone was acting like, oh, he's betraying his teammates and this and that. Like, everybody knew what his status was. And when you start thinking about it rationally, you go, well, of course they do, because you have to fill out a card and you have to show proof of vaccination, just like you do everywhere else. But anyways, it's stories in the past, but I thought it was interesting. This story happened last week, and AG,
I saw it. I saw the video.
Okay, so a man took not one, but 2 helmets off 2 different people and started beating them with it. That is a bad dude. Like, Aaron Donald, he's swinging helmets. And first of all, there's 2 things I wanted to bring up on this, and I know this is an unpopular opinion. One, I would much rather get hit with a hollow plastic helmet over the head than Aaron Donald's fist every day of the week.
Anytime.
Okay? Yeah.
Anytime.
And all you guys are complaining about getting hit with a helmet. Yeah, a helmet hurts. I'll tell you firsthand, it hurts. And nothing like Aaron Donald's fist, okay? That hollow helmet, plastic helmet, fist. First, that's number one. Yeah. So all of this other swinging a deadly weapon, blah, 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 blah. The other 2 is, if you were going to tell me, Mike, you're going to go to a practice today. If you pay $10, I'll let you go to this practice. And there's a dude there that is such a bad dude that when other people start popping off, like La'el Collins did, the right tackle for the Bengals, right? From the Cowboys guy, starts cheap shotting people.
Cowboys, right.
Yeah. This dude is going to go over. He's going to tear the helmets off of 2 of the opposing team and start hitting them with it. I would go, where do I sign up? I'll pay any amount of money you want to say. I mean, that is an amazing, because these are all grown men that we know are tough guys. And this dude is like, this dude is the ultimate warrior, like WWE, hitting the turnbuckle.
Coming off
like,
the top
this dude
rope.
is an absolute animal, man. Like, what a stud.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. When I saw the video, this was before we jumped on the plane going to Ireland, I was like, well, I'm like, oh, okay. It was usual because I always saw this being a running back. And I was like, why are you running towards that? I see people running towards that. You know, someone obviously going to help their teammates, but that's like, why would you want to run to a guy who is strong as all get out, and he's swinging helmets vicious and violently, and he's already connected on a couple times, you know.
How did you get 2 helmets off? AG, you've seen fights. You've been a part of fights. How do you get 2 helmets? 1 helmet I can get. How do you get 2?
Hey, he's got some strong hands. That's what I say.
Because after the first one, I'd be like if let's say I got my helmet on and he takes, I don't know, Joe Schmo's helmet off and starts beating him with it. I'm going like, man, I better make sure this thing's all buckled up before I get myself in there. You know what I mean?
I'm buttoning it up. And that was the other thing. I was like, if I am within 5 yards of the helmet swinging, my helmet is on. Yeah. I'm not walking in there with my helmet off or half on. So it's going to get knocked off.
Some media guy, I forgot who it was. Some media guy was like, well, they need to have a policy. You need to have a helmet on during these joint practices. And I'm like, do you think these guys were walking over there with their helmets off? Like, he removed those helmets from those people's bodies. Like, that's what happened. That dude is a bad man. He is a bad man.
Yeah, he's a bad man. He's a bad man. But for my worst fight, I know it's the next question of this. The worst fight I saw during my time, it involves you and KGB, his rookie year And years after that, every time I looked over at the O-line, D-line, one-on-one drill, I remember one time I look over and I see you, 68, you on a knee, and you're just pummeling 94. Like, what is going on?
I beat him.
I'm like, oh,
I hit him so hard one day, I broke his tooth. Okay.
Right.
Funny story. And it was just one of those deals where, like, we're not in pads, and, like, you know, he was a bull rusher.
It was just helmet. It was just helmet.
So we were like throwing, and I busted him under his helmet, and I hit him in the chin. I busted his tooth. And so, you know, it's over, and, like, you know, offense, we're all laughing. And then a helmet goes flying by my head. You talking about, like, he took his helmet off and threw it at me.
That wasn't smart. That wasn't he's a smart guy, but that wasn't a smart moment.
But we're not, like, you know, Flanagan, like Tauscher, like, we're all just kind of like laugh. You know, it's over. Fight, and then it's over. I remember Flanagan got in a fight with a guy. I can't remember who it was, but, like, he was by the time he got back to the huddle, he was laughing. Like, there was no, like, there's just lack of anger. Like, fighting wasn't like it wasn't like that. I'm not holding a grudge, not a tough guy. We just we got to fight right now. Okay, ha. And then it was over. But, man, it's over. Yeah, it's over. KGB, man, he's a different cat. He's a different cat.
He told me. I remember talking about that with him. Well, not that fight in particular, but he just, like, because I was his roommate on the road, and so he would be like, "Amon," he's like, "Amon, you got to help me out with this." That's his approach. And I'm like, "What?" So funny. He said every day the offensive line, either Mike Wall or Marco or Mike Flanagan, they just beat on me. I said, "Man, fight back. You can fight back. You know that, right?" He said, "They're just testing you, it's whatever, but they're not going to hold it. It's not a grudge thing. They just, if you know, throw a punch, you caught them off guard, they're going to throw a couple punches. You throw it. It's okay."
He was one of those guys.
Protect yourself, bro.
He was one of those guys that would be in, like, no pads, and he would, like, he'd take, like, the second 100%. Team tackle, and he'd, like, bull rush him under his pillow pads and, like, dump him, and then so we'd all get mad. Yeah. And it's like, dude, why don't you, like, wow. Sorry for another day.
He didn't understand.
He that part of it he didn't get. Like, he in his mind, he's like completely innocent. It's like, no, dude, we're not. That's not the game.
You can't do that. Yeah. You got for this next one. Get off my line. You got to explain this one. This one it looks like something out of a movie.
Paul Pogba is he's a international soccer superstar. Played for Juventus. Went to Man U. Now he's back at Juventus. And I guess this crime syndicate was trying to blackmail him and saying they were going to release all this information, make him look like a bad guy. And they got his brother Matthias to get in on it. So his brother's, like, trying to blackmail him. And, like, part of this stuff, like, you're reading it, like, whatever. So he's a France international, like, World Cup winning soccer player, right? So I guess at some point, the Matthias guy, his brother says, "Hey, we're going to release this story that says that you hired a witch doctor to cast a spell on Kylian Mbappe, who right now is, like, the best player in the world at French international."
He's the cover athlete on FIFA.
Like, what? Yeah. Like, what are we even talking about right now? Like, and you just, like, I think Paul Pogba put out a statement like, "Okay, like, if you think anybody's going to buy that nonsense, go for it. Like, is that the best you can come up with? There's got to be some better dirt than a witch doctor."
Exactly. I'm like, am I watching the script for Beetlejuice here?
Yeah, it's like the worst. That's like this is a headline should have been like, worst thief or worst criminals ever threaten witch doctor story on Paul Pogba. You know what I mean? Like, oh, AG, what if I came to you as like, AG, you give me $1 million, or I'm going to tell everybody that you tried to cast a spell on Mark Tauscher with a witch doctor. You'd be like, okay, go ahead.
Like, go ahead. Yeah. I said, tell me how that goes for you. Yeah. That's all I want to know. How does that go for you?
Unbelievable.
I'm going to ask you that.
All right, man. Listen, we got to get to it. We got to get to it.
We here.
Let's talk about Scott Frost.
So my man, my old teammate here and his coaching staff.
Teammate.
And
I'm a big fan of
Scott. That's true. He was a
That's right.
Man. He was a Green Bay Packer for 2 years or 2.5 or 1.5. And he was a safety here. But yeah, a game, watching it, Mike, and I'm pretty sure you caught wind of it. You watched it. If not, you saw highlights. Game was pretty much neck and neck. Second quarter, we take a 2-score lead. This is when it went downhill from, obviously for the obvious reasons. And just like the second quarter, you have momentum. Your defense is playing okay, but not like we were talking about earlier about the Packers defense. You kick an onside kick, and you're up 2 scores. So you're giving the team that is actually, that's what I did. I said, what is going on? because I'm in my phone. Like, I'm like, okay, in my head, okay, they just scored, momentum. I go to my cell phone to check messages. I'm thinking the ball's getting kicked off, so it's nothing for me to look at. It's just a kickoff. Right. And my wife she nudges me like, he just get an onside kick. So when my wife realizes what he just did and is like, I'm like, she's like, what was that about? And so that just says a whole lot. When my wife tells me, who is a football fan, not saying she's not, but boom, it's like, okay, it's a problem because she's bringing it up to me, and it's like, I've thought it all, like the first 5 minutes after the fact, I'm like, what scenario would tell me as a coach with a 2-score lead, a pretty good team, then you can't write Northwestern off. They got a good head coach, good coach.
Nebraska is supposed to beat Northwestern, though. Let's be real clear about that.
100%. Yes, 100%.
Nebraska should win 29 out of 30 times, right?
We beat them in Lincoln last year. I was at this game 56-7.
Okay. So when we say whatever what expectations are,
we were 70. What's the book? The book says 76% to win. Okay. And so many, and then after the game, I was with older players some of the older players like Steve Taylor, Tyrone Bird, they hang out with the boosters. Like they know them personally, the boosters of the university. And then they like, he's gone. They're like, he's gone right now, first week. I'm like, I'm disappointed too. But I don't know that stuff, but it's just crazy.
Okay,
crazy,
so
crazy.
Then here's the other question.
One more thing, then I'll let you go. One more thing. The last thing is not only like he's a teammate, I know him, but in his comments afterwards, he's throwing his offensive coaches under the bus. He basically said, not verbatim, but in this way, our offensive coaching staff doesn't know how to call plays. From the plays I saw in the game,
the guy you hired all the guys, right? Like he didn't get grandfathered in. Oh.
No, he hired these guys, and he says that in a quote during his press conference. So now I'll let you go. I just wanted to throw that in there.
That actually makes it a lot worse. Like you can you can always excuse a mistake in play calling, just like you can excuse a mistake on the field. What you can't excuse ever is pointing the finger at one of your staff members or a group of your staff members when things aren't going well, just like it's not okay to point the finger at your players when things aren't going well, right? Like less fingers, more thumbs, right? Less fingers, more thumbs. Yep. Now, my question was, and now it's actually a serious question, is where's the suggestion box to put Amon Green as the next head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers? When do we get to that point? Who do we have to talk to? Let's start a damn campaign.
We can start a campaign. I don't know who to talk to, but we can start a campaign.
I'm telling you.
It'll be a whole bunch of Husker fans that Trev Alwards, former player, as you probably play.
Well, here we go.
By our time.
Here we go. Yeah, you heard it here first. We're starting the campaign. Amon Green is the next Nebraska head coach, 2022 and a half, maybe 2023. We'll see.
Maybe. We'll see.
Listen, we got one new segment.
I'll take a season.
AZ, we got one more segment now, and I put this
I saw this. I like this.
I knew we were gonna talk about something that was gonna upset you, the Nebraska game. So I wanted to put in the hero of the week, and the hero of the week this week is a DC Comics thing. I know you're a comic book fan. So Ezra Miller, who's the Flash in the new DC, the Justice League movie,
great actor.
He's had a couple of mishaps. Let's be honest, the guy's acting like a goddamn crazy person for the last 6 months. He's out of his mind, right? The things that he's done when they hit the papers, you're just like, this can't even be real. He's just acting like a complete fool. But he's been jailed multiple times. But now him and his agent went and flew and talked to the DC guys because they actually threatened to turn this movie off. They're like, just like the Batgirl movie, they're like, we're not even going to release The Flash, even though it's got Michael Keaton as Batman and it's parallel. I mean, it's got all this stuff going on. It's supposed to be the bridge to this new multiverse deal. It should be unbelievable. It should be awesome. I was really excited to see it. So my hero of the week is Ezra Miller, believe it or not, for saying, hey, look, I got some problems I'm trying to deal with. I'm going to go meet with the DC guys and try to get this movie out. Are you excited to see the movie?
Yes, I'm excited and disappointed, like you said, if they see Batgirl after they spent $90 million, Mike.
Dude, you know how bad that movie must have been. You know how bad that movie must have been.
It's like you spent $90 million and you shelve it. And then not only, you know what else gets shelved in that? Poor Scooby-Doo. They had a Scooby-Doo movie too, and Scooby-Doo gets shelved right next to Batgirl.
I can see both. Here's what I don't understand, AG. Maybe you can explain this in briefly. Is what is it about DC? Is it the characters, or what is it about their storytelling that makes their movies not as popular, lack of better, famous, enjoyable, whatever it is? Like, they're just not as good.
Right.
The new Batman was great. There's been Batman movies that are good.
It was.
But like the Justice League movie, Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel, they're okay, but they're not nearly as good as some of the Marvel movies. Why?
It starts with the studio. It starts with management up top. It's unfortunate, that Warner Brothers, the people who run it, with Zack, like for example, prime example, Zack Snyder, when he did, I was fortunate enough to be a stand-in on a movie, on the script, on the scene. He did a Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Mm-hmm. Cut it, post-produced it, boom, 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 ready to go out in the theaters. And production or management says, cut it down to 3 hours. I guess it was 4.5 hours. They didn't want a 4.5 hour superhero movie. But then what happened 4, 5, 10 years later? That same, Justice League, which was also cut up, that looked weird. People didn't understand it. Same thing. Production said, too long of a superhero movie. People are not. I'm like, people watch Lord of the Rings, 3 hours.
You could have made it 2 movies.
3.5 hours. Exactly.
The Zack Snyder cut of Justice League was really good.
That's one.
Zack Snyder.
Right. And so Zack Snyder, he releases Justice League almost 10 years, about 5, 6, within 5 years of it, the original coming out. That studio told him to edit down. So he said, you know what? I'm gonna go to the fans. And in the comic book world, fans can rule because they just have that pull. And that's what he did. He did like a little campaign, like we just did with myself and being a coach, head coach in Nebraska. He did that with the Justice League movie, and boom, it got produced. Like, there you go. And so it starts there. And then just the whole look of it. So DC is competing, obviously, with Marvel, with Disney now, which that is a tough matchup. That basically was like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. We have Marvel and DC, or Marvel and Disney together, and DC over here by themselves. They're just Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. And so with that type of experience, because we know Disney, they hit the family, they hit that demographic, the young kids and all that. And now they're bringing up Stan Lee at the time when he was alive, working, writing with his writers and producers. You got all that. And the storytelling side of it is where they just missed out on it, because this whole, where we're talking about the Flash, Batgirl, Justice League, all started back when during Dawn of Justice, Zack was going to make his movie to connect all the dots. It was supposed to be Flash right after that. And then Cyborg was going to get his own movie. And then Wonder Woman would get her 2 movies. But we saw just the opposite. We saw Wonder Woman first. Then we saw Aquaman. And we never saw the Flash, and we never saw Cyborg. So missing those 2 movies, introducing the Justice League characters as a full, they just did Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. You missed out on, and then Aquaman, you missed out on Cyborg, and you missed out on Flash, and you missed out. Now people are that don't read comic books are going to think otherwise, because they don't understand the whole multiverse thing that's about to happen in both universes for comic books. So that's the 2 problems with DC trying to compete with Marvel and Disney, basically.
It just seems like, because if you're a comic book fan, maybe like DC more than Marvel, but the comic books are this. I mean, they write the comics, we write comics. They're not that much better than it's got to be. It seems like DC should go just hire whoever the hell's writing the screenplays, adaptations for Marvel. I feel like they should just go hire them, because they do a better job.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's his last name is Despito, I believe, and he was working with Michael Bay and Transformers and Steven Spielberg. So you're talking about
it's high level.
That type high level writer, producing, executive producing, people that know this is how we need to present it to the fan. This is what we edit out. We don't edit that out. We keep this. This type of music, this type of actors, A-list actors, this level of characters, and keep the continuity there. When you don't have the continuity, that's where fans like me and other fans from Marvel and DC, that's when we get mad, because it's like we reading the books, Mike, and you be like, hold up, that didn't happen like that. Yeah, but y'all, it's like y'all not having that continuity, and that's what Marvel's done. Marvel, in most, I wouldn't say all of it, but I would say 85% of the story told on the big screen of what we've seen, if you're not a comic book reader, is 85% right to the book. To continuity, canon, as whatever they call it. And that's what kept the Marvel fans happy because they're hitting it out the box because they're telling the almost exact to right story that's in the book.
AG, I'll tell you what, you got so much going on.
What's up?
And you're esports coach. You're going to be the next head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Comic book aficionado.
Thank you.
I mean, I think I just learned more about Marvel movies than maybe the last 10 years. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. Yes, you're welcome. Yep. And I've done a little homework on like when the whole story of the Infinite, saga came out, when I was finding out, this guy named Thanos, he's a badass. So what I did, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna study up on all the badasses in both universes. So Darkseid is the badass in Marvel or DC. And Thanos is the badass. And I was like, you know what? Because I was like, if these are the baddest dudes out there, because in our world, we knew who the bad dudes were.
Yep.
It's either this nose tackle or this linebacker, this safety. You got to watch them. These are the badass. So I'm like, let me look on these badasses. So check this out, Mike. You might like this one. So Thanos is so a badass in his origin story of becoming Thanos. They call him the Mad Titan. That's his other name.
Yep.
And he was dating Death. So Death is a woman in the Marvel universe.
Joke there, but yeah,
he's dating her. Yeah, he's dating Death. And she says to him on a date, she said, hey, Thanos, you all right. I kind of like you. But you know how I'll fall in love with you? You gonna murder your mom. Go do that. And then we might come. I could probably put a ring on. You could put a ring on this thing. And
wow, really?
He said, okay, no problem. He murdered his mom from his request of death, his girlfriend. I said, that's bad. I'm sorry. That would have
been a hell of a plot twist in one of the movies. I don't know if he's as popular.
Right. I'm saying it. Yeah, they say that's where Marvel comes in. We can't put this on the big screen.
No. Do you remember that movie Sin
that's
City?
In the book.
Remember the movie Sin City?
Yes.
And Sin City was based on like a comic series, and it wasn't like a book. It was like, what do you guys call it? A graphic novel?
It was a graphic novel.
Yeah, a graphic novel.
It's a good novel. It's a real good one.
And that one, and then there's another one called The Watchmen. That's it's DC.
Yep,
maybe.
Watchmen is DC, and it's probably more ruthless than any other DC
novel, right?
series out there.
Yeah, so
graphic novel is hardcore.
That stuff is gnarly, man. Yeah, that stuff is gnarly. Listen, hey, good show today, AG. Tell you what, man.
Thank you, Mike. Great show for you as well. So, hey, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Amon Green 30, all one word. And Mike, let them know where they can find you on social.
Yep, MikeWall68, Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Like I said, AG, great show, man. Appreciate you. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you had a good trip. Sorry about Nebraska, but I'm glad you could be the head coach. And listen, all things must come to an end. And if we got to shut the show down so you can go lead those guys to the promised land, then I'm good with that too.
Right. Hey, you might get a phone call. You never know.
All right, guys.
All right, man. Have a good day.